Recording.
Hey guys, welcome back to Carlienne's Corner. We are Adventures of Carlienne. I am Adrienne.
And I am Carl.
And we are reliving our year of travel back in 2018 to 2019. And we've made it to Lisbon, Portugal.
Lisbon. Yes. This is one of our favorite cities, right? Like, definitely want to go back. Definitely think we could live there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it was one of, I think, the first cities / countries that we were like, oh, like this is pretty nice. And I don't think it had to do with, you know, their own Golden Gate Bridge or what was that?
Yeah. And like, if any of you haven't been there, there's a bridge that looks exactly like our Golden Gate Bridge here in the Bay Area. Like,
same designer or whatever.
Identical.
Identical. Yeah, so that was like a really lovely touch of nostalgia or whatever when we were there. And I think during that time there were like wildfires again or something at home. There was something going on at home, and people were like, because we posted a picture of us with the bridge in the background, and people thought we were back home or something like that. I just remember commenting or like having a little bit of dialogue back and forth about that. But yes, it is one of the cities we thought we would love to go back and stay for longer, like months or longer. Yeah, so let's just get right into it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, first off, if you're watching this on YouTube, we've got, obviously, you can see that there's like some of our pictures, some videos from our phones, or from our YouTube or whatever. Some footage that you can see as we're talking about it. So little treat visually for those of you watching on YouTube. And if you're not, you just get our voice.
Then we appreciate you guys following our podcast itself. Of course, we have the blog post and the YouTube videos, which we will link in the description so you won't miss out. Yeah, so I remember when we arrived, this is, keep in mind, I think, what was it, like the 5th or 6th city, but like the 3rd country we were in. No, second country still. And it hadn't been that long into our trip, but we had come into this like issue that we were having because we were basically double backpacking it because we thought, you know, back in the day before the budget airlines really like nickeled and dimed you, like you could get away with having 2 backpacks and not having to check in a bag. And that was our strategy going into it, but almost like right when we started the trip, policies changed. So we actually ended up having to check in a backpack anyways. So that coupled with the fact that we were basically dragging and hiking around with double backpacks, like a true backpacker, I guess.
And then it's like, yeah. And it's funny because I remember one of our first YouTube videos, we did a backpack review of like the Chris Burkhardt backpack and if we would take it on or not, but we felt that it was too big. So I settled on one of the Osprey backpacks, which is a great backpack. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, the backpacks we had were pretty good, really good. We still have them. We still use them for hikes and things that we need to carry our stuff, including like kachang stuff on a hike too. So, but during the trip, we've only hit like how many countries or how many places? Like 5, 6.
Yeah.
And man, I'm not trying to whine or anything, but carrying like a year's worth of clothes that should cover us in winter and summer and all the seasons, plus all of our electronics, which is quite a bit, like all of our camera gear, which we have a ton of, which we kind of, like, looking back on it, like, I was so strict on trying to get our quality, like, so high off the bat, just because there's so much competition in this travel YouTube niche thing, right? And some of them have crazy transitions and cinematography and all these things, like Peter McKinnon, James Matthew, all those guys, like they're so raw. And me being me, I'm like, oh, we need to be on that level, so let's at least get the same camera gear and all this. But just carrying all that stuff is crazy, and 2 backpacks. So anyway, back to Lisbon. We arrive, we have a double backpack, and we put in our Airbnb address onto our maps. And
arriving from the train.
From France. And man, like it only said it was 1.4 miles of a walk, which for us is a little under 30 minutes of a walk. You know, we honestly...
And we were totally fine. We were like gung-ho about it.
Yeah.
Until we actually
Until we realized what 80% of that walk entailed, which was hills. It was so hilly. The thing is, we got out of it and we checked how far we had to walk. There was literally no hill in sight. Maybe like a little one and like in towards the direction, but it was like, okay, it's like 1.4 miles. That's like a baby hill. No, there was more. And it got steeper and steeper, and yeah, and that was hell.
And as you can tell, it was our first time in Lisbon. After you've been to Lisbon, you'll understand that it's a very hilly city. More so than even like San Francisco. But we were, lugging the double backpack, which, double backpack works totally fine if one of your day packs or whatever is like light.
Is light, yeah.
Because then you have the heavy one that's like, ergonomically strapped to your body, and so you can take the correct weight. But we had our day bag as our gear bag, which is like
a great bag. Yeah.
40, 50 pounds of electronics.
It's a great bag. It's the Wandered 31, Provoke 31 liter.
21.
No. We upgraded from the 21 or something like that. Remember, we first had the 21s. Oh, no, we first had the 31s.
Because it wouldn't fit underneath.
Yeah, so we ran into that issue, luckily, before the whole trip. Mm-hmm. So this is a little sidebar. The 31, the 31 Provoke, we really liked it. Fit everything. It was great. And then we went to Hawaii a couple months before our big trip because our friends wanted to go see Hawaii, and who doesn't? And we really couldn't put it underneath
the seat, which made us realize, like, that's just not going to work for the trip if we can't keep our backpack with us at all.
And it's like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to, like, maybe some of you are like, oh, wow, you guys are such, like, just put it on top. Just put it in the bin. It's like, It's not that. It's like security issues for me. It's like, I want to keep my stuff as close as possible to me just because, one, there's a laptop, there's an iPad, there's a new Sony camera in there at the time. There's 2 lenses. There's, there's a lot of electronics that, not that I don't trust the bin or the overhead bin. It's just
either way.
Yeah.
Plus, if we were going with the original strategy of like, okay, well, we're thinking our other backpacks would have been up at the top. So, to minimize the need of taking up the entire bin ourselves, like we wanted to be able to make sure that we could at least slide our regular day bag underneath the chair in front of us, which we couldn't do. Luckily, we figured that out before the trip, and we downsized, not downgraded. It's not a different quality.
They're both great. Quality is still
just
good.
Just downsized to the 21.
We still need to do a review of this backpack. Even though they've released a new style, it's still an awesome backpack. Honestly, I wish Peter McKinnon would send us his backpack because he keeps saying it's the last camera bag we'll ever need. Peter, hook it up. Anyway, back to Lisbon. Yeah, so double backpacking through the hills, the hardest 1.4 miles I've ever had to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was one of the pain points during the early days of traveling, was getting used to those travel days where we're like, to try and save a little bit, or in order to like not have to figure out how to take the public transportation, we would like walk quite a bit. And that was difficult.
Yeah. Well, and it just saves money, right? Like throughout the trip, you kind of have, especially so early, like we kind of had to pick and choose where we would spend the money, like it's especially when it comes to like attractions. Food was normally like okay, we're gonna get it because we're food people. But otherwise, yeah, like we'd have to pick and choose. It's like it's not a big deal. We've got legs. We're young, so
Yeah. So that was our entry into Lisbon. Was working really hard to get to our Airbnb. But luckily, all of that in itself was fine. Like check-in, it was one of the times we didn't get lost or like, had any difficulty getting into our Airbnb, which was great. But that was definitely like a highlight or memorable
it's
experience.
definitely a memorable struggle. Like it even makes you like think like how some of the military does, like they put on full gear and then they're running for like how long. Doesn't matter how fast, but it's just like to run with all of that gear and like it's like wherever, like in heat, in snow or whatever. It's
like the firemen,
so
right?
insane. Like that's like even more respect. And all I had to do was climb a hill for a mile and a half. Like, man, crazy.
Yeah. I think it was also because, we were wearing like essentially our winter gear, like North Face, jacket, our hiking boots, because you're wearing all of your heaviest things, right, during travel days. So by the time you finish like walking even half a mile, you're like sweating so much that like, yeah. So when we got into the Airbnb, we had to like take a moment. Like it basically made travel days like really exhausting and you're kind of like, I can't really do too much else on this day. So I think we, just kind of scoped our neighborhood a little bit, get food or drinks or whatever you need to get to kind of like have for breakfast and things like that. But
speaking of eating right after that,
we went out for lunch.
Yeah.
So hungry.
Yeah. We didn't expect that kind of a workout. I just remember my shirt being super drenched, but
yeah. And then there goes one of your outfits because you have to like completely change in order to go out. And then, yeah. Anyways, but afterwards, maybe because we were in such a mood, but like our lunch find was like really such a nice surprise. And that was at that like Oriental market.
Yeah.
Everything in Europe, by the way, they group all Asian things and it's just called like Oriental restaurant or Oriental market. And they'll literally have every kind of, cuisine that's Asian together.
Yeah. And so since it was a market, we bought groceries, right? But before that, I think we had a meal. They had a hand-pulled noodle spot. And which is hard to find.
Yeah, super surprised. I was just like, wait a second.
It was a double. It was definitely a double take. We're like, where are we? And why is there hand pulled? You would expect something of a, I don't want to say cheaper or poorer quality of noodle, but like definitely something simpler than a hand pulled noodle shop. It's not a sketch Oriental supermarket at all, but it was
like small and like low traffic. It didn't really seem like, actually there were a bunch of storefronts in that like little 3-story, I think it was, building that like were closed. Like there was a boba spot that was like definitely not open
ever, because we tried to go back but no, it wasn't there.
So it definitely
But it's not like people go to Lisbon for boba anyway. So anyway.
Well, I didn't expect anything Asian, which tells you how little I know about, right? But yes, so that was like a glorious find after the trek that we had, and it's only €5.
Yeah.
So actually, like if you get hand pulled noodles anywhere else, like even here in the States, like you're definitely paying like $12 to $15 for that.
Yeah.
So €5. I was like, this is amazing. We could come here every day.
Yeah. We almost did.
We went twice.
Yeah, we went 2 or 3 times. I mean, like, how long were we in Lisbon?
Almost a week, not quite.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they had a beef one and a chicken one. So obviously we wanted to do one of each.
Someone was mad about that.
I was kind of mad. Like, I'm down to always try, but I like whatever she wants to get. I let her get.
Can't see my face, but I'm shaking my head right now.
But I'm like, she can have whatever the one she likes most. I don't mind. I don't want to call it a sacrifice or whatever, but I guess it is. Like, I don't want to sacrifice me not wanting something and then just, eating it and just looking at it and just be like, okay, it's just fuel.
So what had happened was
we
had ordered one of each so that we could try one of each. And after tasting both, I asked him, okay, which do you prefer? And he said, oh, it doesn't matter. You go ahead and choose. And so I chose the beef. And it turned out that he really didn't like the chicken one at all. And he felt it had zero flavor. And so he was upset about it. And I was like, well, why didn't you just tell me? Like, I liked it fine. I would have eaten it happily. And he was like, well, no, I just want to let you have what you want, And so as he's explaining it.
All I hear is that Carl's a very good guy. That's all I hear. I don't hear any whining or complaining. Just that Carl guy is a great person.
So traveling
Story
couples,
done.
lesson number 1, just be honest and communicate.
Yes.
Yes.
But it was a fun find. Other than that first day, we kind of just walked around. We didn't do very much because we bought groceries and then we decided to like cook in for dinner. Since it was a very tiring walk from the station. Yeah. Bright side is it's downhill going back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then I think, other than that first day being really tired, like after you have that expectation though that like it's hilly and whatnot, that it's totally fine, right? Like the mental game is you're fine. And the great thing about the hills is that like everywhere in the city there's like a beautiful view. So you don't actually have to go to these places that we went to. But one of the first places that we did go see was the castle.
Mm-hmm. Say it. We really apologize for butchering any of these names.
I don't even know how to...
Castello de Sao... Is it George or Jorge?
I don't know. See? So bad. I have no idea.
Well, it's George it's spelled like Jorge.
Yeah.
But again, apologize for that. But anyway, the place is pretty cool. We were like not fortunate, but we were smart enough to go hella early.
Hats off to us.
Yeah. We're really smart enough to go right at the opening like it was Black Friday. Yeah. Like as soon as it opened, we were one of the first ones to go because an hour later, all the tour groups start to come. So we kind of had like a good hour or maybe 45 minutes or so, like the castle to ourselves, basically, right? To check out that stuff. And then as the tourists started coming in, we started going out more, right? We started going towards the edge of the castle just because that's where all the views were of the city, which was crazy beautiful.
Yeah, it's super nice. And then, all the peacocks.
Oh, yeah. There's outrageous amounts of peacocks.
Yeah. Something it's not weird, but it was not expected.
It's just, No, it's definitely not normal to see that many wild peacocks. I don't even know if it's wild, but...
Yeah, I guess it's the same wildness in the same as like pigeons are wild.
I don't even see that many peacocks in zoos.
That's true. Yeah, not here, at least for us in the States. We don't really see that many peacocks. So.
And there's this, I don't know if it's a bunker or like there's just one stone building it's not like a complete building. Like the roof is not complete. Like there's a hole, basically, or it's open. And I saw for the first time of my life a peacock fly from one end to the other. That was the craziest thing ever. That's a big ass bird. No. And all I imagined was like, because I've got shitted on by some seagulls. All I imagined was, whoa, I hope this peacock does not shit. That's a big shit, poop.
Well, so
that was the castle. That was the castle.
The castle itself it's nice to visit. There's not really anything like imagine just like sort of like ruins. There's not like any information or like educational aspect of it. So if you're looking for that, you'll probably want to like book a tour or something.
Right. Because some of those tours had like those listening. It looks like an old cell phone.
Yeah, the
where you
audio
just
guides,
yeah.
or an actual tour guide. But they're just like, it's really fun just to walk around and explore. And Carl got to fly the drone.
Oh yeah, one of the only times we ever got to like
Fly the drone.
fly the drone, and
Lisbon.
I actually crashed it. So, but it survived.
Yeah.
It has survived. So, yeah, like the views of the castle, from the castle or whatever, of the whole city, it's nice. Like I really like knowing you can just walk up a hill and it's like the whole city is just like, wow, that's nice. It's like, it's not like here where it's like, even if you go to like the shoreline. So we live in Hayward, and like there's a Hayward shoreline here, and just going there and like seeing across the bay, it's like not that exciting because it's all pollution. It's all hazy. But I mean, and then otherwise you would have to hike Mission Peak in Fremont, and like it's still not that great looking, you know? You still can't see.
Yeah, the Bay Area. I mean, we're by the bay, so we're not that hilly or mountainous immediately in this area, so you don't really get views in the same way. Yeah, probably only in the city, I guess, or Oakland. There's some hills.
Yeah. Well, we haven't ventured out towards anywhere. Maybe we should just do that one day. Just be like, hey, views of the bay.
Yeah, find all the view spots. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a list out there somewhere. But Lisbon, just almost everywhere you go, like there's a view. So you don't have to go to the castle at all. There's a bunch of viewpoints throughout the city, which we did check out a couple of them. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Me neither.
But they have these like almost like terraces, but there's a name for them. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll have to look it up. There's a name for like these little terrace parts where you can kind of just go and hang out, and people just like casual. It's not like necessarily a touristy thing to do, but you can just go there. They have like tables or like
people
ledges.
have dates there. There's you might find someone who's randomly playing the saxophone or violin, you know, things like that. So it's the atmosphere is very pleasant. Like it's really nice. So another reason to explore the cities on your own wherever you travel to. I know sometimes it can be dangerous getting lost, but seriously, get lost and just have safety checks and stuff. And
I mean, Lisbon is a very bustling, busy city, so I think for the most part, like it always felt pretty safe. And there's like a really nice mix of people too, which is kind of probably why we felt pretty at home. Like it felt a little like, you know, San Francisco, like all kinds of people everywhere, super chill. I think one of the other things that we really enjoyed doing was just like going towards the waterfront area. All along the water, there's like, you know, the ledges or the pathways people walk and hang out. I don't know if you call it like the seawall or something. That's probably not the right term, but
the seawall.
I think a seawall is an actual thing, but I don't think that's what I'm thinking of. And then they have like, you know, like little restaurants or like even kiosks, like stalls. Yeah. You can get like beer and like drinks and coffee and stuff like that.
Again, more like that atmosphere was very nice for us. Like it was very inviting to be out.
Yeah. Like not so much like, oh, it's because everyone's friendly per se, but it's just like everyone is just out to hang out, to be out. And like whether you're a tourist or not, like nobody's like giving you second looks. It's just like super chill. And there's always people performing too.
Yeah. I guess it's that weird, like, yes, it's a big city, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily move slow, but like it definitely has those relaxing, chill vibes to it, you know. Sit by the seawall with a beer and just watch like boats pass or look at, you know, stay there for sunset. We have a cool time lapse of like just chilling, drinking beer. Did we drink beer or we probably had ice cream, I think. Ice cream sounds more like
no, I do remember getting a beer.
Okay.
Because I remember getting it from the guy at a kiosk. And
Oh, that's right.
and because I had to ask him if he spoke English, and he was like, and when people know to speak English, they're pretty excited to practice with you. If they don't, they're just totally like, oh no, it's okay. But no one's ever like one thing I really liked about Portugal was that we were never given a hard time. You know, some countries have like a little bit more pride and they want, you know, they prefer you to try to speak their language. And then others like hate when you butcher their language, so then they give you like this look of disdain when you're like obviously trying but like you can't say it right, and they just like don't want to help you. And then you have somewhere like Portugal where they're like, whatever, yeah, you can speak it, great, you can't, totally cool, like we just go about our day like no big deal. And yeah, so
And then you have some people in America who are like, here in America, speak American. What? What? But anyway, let's hop back to Lisbon. So yeah, waterfront, seawall, great. Atmosphere,
Yes.
chill. It is like that slow motion, not slow motion, but like that's the kind of, we realized this later in the trip, but that like that slow travel, like, you know, yeah, you can see a bunch of stuff, but you know, we'd rather not. We really want to take in the city, you know, not as a tourist really, but like, you know, just chilling and watching to see how the city moves.
Yeah, to really get to like feel the actual energy of the city rather than just like blowing through it and trying to pack as much stuff as you possibly can. Speaking of water, the other sort of attraction or thing to do in Lisbon that we did was go to Belém, which is a sort of the old, I don't know, I guess not really old side of town, but it's like an old district, I guess, which is famous for the original pastel de nata, right? I think that's what it's known
Portuguese
for.
egg tarts.
Because the monastery, and it's linked to the monastery, I believe. Yeah, okay. So,
Well, anyway, we went to Belém, and we visited the monastery. We didn't go in, right? Yeah, that was one of the things where
it's not really our thing to like. I think we did this a number of times, you know, like we'll go to churches or we'll visit cathedrals and stuff. But after a while, there's like, especially if you have to pay to go in, we're usually going to probably just like, it's totally beautiful enough from the outside that you can just kind of like admire it from the outside. And then, of course, we went to the, do you call it a pastillery? Is that what that's called? To the place that makes the pastel de nata.
yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
well, it's called, what is it? Pastéis de Belém or something like that? Or
Pastéis de Belém.
Yeah. So this is the spot, apparently was the originator. I don't know. But the line was huge. So we went there. We had to go there. We were eating egg tarts the day we arrived in Portugal in general, right? Like, but you know, we heard Lisbon's got the crack. You know what I'm saying? It's got the good stuff in terms of Portuguese egg tarts, which is the best egg tart out there. Sorry to your people, but Portuguese egg tarts.
No. I prefer Portuguese egg tarts over Chinese egg tarts any day, or as they're called, like Hong Kong style egg tarts.
Yeah.
I prefer the flaky crust. Although there was a place in Lisbon that sold both the flaky pie crust and then also the Hong Kong style crust, which I thought was like really interesting because I was like, oh, isn't that like wrong? Like I didn't expect like a Portuguese egg tart place to sell that style.
Maybe they just sold it just to show that the Portuguese style is the best.
It's unnecessary. But yes.
But yeah, so Belém, like this place, the line was long, which doesn't mean
hectic.
Yeah,
by the way,
it doesn't mean that it's gonna be great. I thought it was okay. Yeah, it didn't blow our minds. Honestly, I think we'll talk about the place that we really liked and where we got it pretty much every day. But you know.
Basically, given it was a great egg tart. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think because they have such a high turnover rate, like you're getting it super fresh,
Right.
like literally out the oven almost.
But that's the thing with these, like, I don't want to say overhyped or like they just have the history of like really good whatever food product, right? And we've experienced this in a number of places like Singapore, where you're talking about the cheapest Michelin
Oh,
starred
yeah.
chicken rice that you can get. But over the years, we've heard that it's been falling in quality. Well, it's like you're a Michelin star and you're trying to keep up with the tourism and everything. Like there's gonna be some sort of downfall there. You know what I mean? Like
Right. It's hard at that level of production,
yeah,
to maintain a certain level of quality.
right.
Yeah. I think I remember thinking like it was like the crust at the Belém one was more almost crunchy on the bottom. And I wasn't sure if it was because it was like overdone or not, or if that was like intentional. So that was just like a note that I had.
I mean, like when we eat these things as food people, especially for me, it's like we kind of dissect like, okay, we didn't like this, but why didn't we like it?
Or what might have happened.
What might have happened? Because it's like, working in kitchens, it's like you go through some stuff and sometimes everything doesn't come out. You can follow the like measurements and the recipe to the T, but as long as their lines are as busy as they are, it's like there could just be miscommunication. There could just be, I don't know, maybe it sat longer, maybe they were so busy that no one could take it out for the extra 30 seconds it was in there. So there are just these variables that you can't really account for, that you you can't control the quality of it. So
Yeah. And of course we only went there once, so could have been a total fluke. I think that would be another thing, like another reason to like stay someplace longer, is then you can always go back to a place that you like and like check that their quality is consistent, or give another place a second chance even.
Right. Because even on a bad, let's just say our first encounter with it was on their bad day, then it's still a really good Portuguese egg tart. The crunch level was like out there. We just didn't know. It was a little too crunchy, if that makes sense.
Compared to what else we've had. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think.
Yeah.
So again, so we're not sure if that was intentional or if that was a mistake. We also noted, of course, like these are the most expensive pastéis that we had. So that also kind of factors into it, right? Because if you're like, well, I can get like a way cheaper one, it's the McDonald's effect.
Yeah.
If I can get a way cheaper one for really good and it tastes better, Anyways, not to compare that with McDonald's, but to another pastel de nata that we preferred, which was at the Time Out Market, which we'll get to
in a bit.
Mantegeria,
yeah, something like that.
Guys.
It's on the outside of Time Out, like in the front, near like right across the railroad, the
Tram.
train.
I think it's I don't know, tram train,
Public transportation.
Yeah,
but
that one was the best that we had in Lisbon, I'll say. And we only tried
consistently the best. Like we've gone morning and right before they've closed on the same day. We've gone different days, and it was just on.
We didn't go on the same day. You make us sound like such gluttons. We had it in the morning, and then we went back and had it.
We did that once.
Did we really?
Yeah, we did that once.
I don't put it past us, but I don't remember that happening. So.
Definitely did. But I mean, also in Belém, it's like to go back. They have that monument next to the water next to the seawall. Next to the water, which was really nice. It's just like this crazy large monument that looks, man, I couldn't even describe, nor do I remember what it was about.
I want to say it's related to like the workers or something. It was a bunch of people, and it was like the effort, right, of like pushing something up or building something. I forget what it was, but the shape of it is kind of almost like a ship. So
yeah, like if you think of there's that one American like thing where
The
they're
flag, yeah, and
flag.
everyone pushing,
Yeah.
helping.
It's very like similar to that kind of a monument, but huge, where they're like all together, they're pushing, they're on a ship, they're like, I'm not gonna say it's a direct. Oh yeah, that's what it is for Portugal. No. I'm just.
This is our description of
Yeah,
it.
we're trying to help you put up an image in your head if you're not watching this on YouTube. But the picture's there on YouTube. So, and our blog, and that's Kachang. But yeah, like it was crazy because then, like, it's a crazy cool monument. We got to use the drone again, and then it's also a very nice view of the twin Golden Gate Bridge.
And you can kind of also see the Redeemer in the as well. That's also on the other side.
On the okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of neat thing. Like Lisbon was such a touchstone of like different places for us, and I think that's why we felt so at home, because there were these like sort of semi-familiar, visuals, and then just the people and the vibe made us feel super comfortable. But yeah, the monument, and then also just the gardens of the monastery, just walking around was like really beautiful. I gotta say, like throughout Portugal, there's just a lot of these like beautiful like tile work and stuff, like whether it's on the walls or on the floor, that are just like really, really beautiful. And it makes you feel like you're in a very historic place. So, regardless if you're a person of like architecture or interest in that, like you can still appreciate like the level of detail or like the physical labor that must have gone into it. So so you have this like beautiful mix of history and then like coastal vibes. It was like so nice. What else? Yeah, I mean, we only spent like the afternoon in Belém, so we didn't really get to see too much else. And then basically we went back, and it takes you to Time Out Market, because that's like where the tram stop is, like right outside. And we went to the Time Out Market a number of times just to kind of like see it at different times.
It's got a whole bunch of, other than like all the restaurants and things, which is kind of the main
like
attraction,
sort of food court.
I guess. Yeah, food court kind of thing. All great food. Then on the outsides, not outsides, but like the sides.
It's like just another side of the Time Out Market is an actual produce market.
Produce market where you can get like all your fruits, vegetables, your meats. They've got a butcher there. I think a couple of times we got like a fish as well, I think.
We got squid.
We got some stuff, yeah. And then the other side is all flowers. And then like I remember seeing a fancy restaurant there, and like a few flower shops. So, it's a nice place to like just hang out and eat. Kind of reminded me of like old days where you would go to the mall and then just hang out at the food court. Except this food court is way nicer.
Yeah, no, when we say food court, like for those who are in the States are probably thinking like, fast food chains. Like, no. This is like the gourmet food court where, to have a restaurant in the Time Out Market is like a big deal. So
I think if like off the grid were actual like storefronts or pop-up shops kind of thing, like, because off the grid isn't like your whatever fast food, crap food
absolutely
kind of thing, but
I would say Time Out Market is even like a higher caliber, because it is like an invite or type of thing.
Like there were chefs there that were there for a month just showcasing themselves and what they can do to like what's the fish, bacalhau, and things like that,
special ingredients and stuff.
Yeah,
so we definitely, it's an interesting place though, because like you'll have like Portuguese food options, and then you'll also have like burgers and pizza and stuff, and like also like a beer stand, like a beverage stand. So there's like plenty of things to try there. Definitely worth like trying multiple things, or like going with a group so you can buy multiple things.
I also think that's a really cool idea. This isn't the only place we've seen this too, where it was like food stalls, and these food stalls or whatever only deal with food. They don't give you, it's not like here where it's like each stall offers beverages as well. There's literally like timeout market like controlled. I don't want to say controlled, but
Yeah,
like
not exactly. I mean,
there was like a beer, like a beverage stall in the middle of the whole food court where if you wanted a drink, you would only go to that. Like the beverage is like only on this middle
separate
part,
from.
and then food is food. That's it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's all you get at those places is food. Like for some
Right.
reason, like I really
Well,
like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something really nice and kind of like efficient about it. But at Time Art Market, though, they do have like wines, specific wines at different restaurant stalls or whatever you want to call them. But I do remember, like, you're thinking also, like, I think it was Malaysia or something where we were, or Thailand, where their food court is like very separate. Like, the food and drink is like, you go to different places for it. So which was kind of like neat and interesting. And also you pay like with a electronic card, which was like cool. It was inconvenient at first because we couldn't figure out how to do this. But then afterwards you're like, oh, that's so much faster and cleaner than like trying to like, handle money with your food, which is, sometimes like not really what you want to do. Yeah. But yes, Timeout Market. Oh, and then the produce side is not open the whole day. So obviously the restaurants have their own hours, and then the produce side closes by, I don't know, afternoon or something like that. Because the first day we did try to go look
we didn't
at it.
make it.
It was already closed.
We were hand pulled noodle drunk.
Oh yes, good times.
And then speaking of like wandering the city and getting lost. There's a couple spots here. If you guys ever watched one of Anthony Bourdain's shows, and he does this like cherry gin shot and also eats bafanas. Bafanas. Let's just start with the cherry gin shot. I think it's cherries, right?
Yeah, I think it's cherries.
Sorry if we're like having a hard time remembering. This was almost 3 years ago.
God.
And anyway, so we're like on the lookout because I remember watching that stuff, and then I had to rewatch the episode. Thank God it was on that Netflix. I think it was on.
Yeah.
And then and I was trying to find it, doing all the research, and we found it. It literally looks like a closet out of a big building, like an outside closet or a storage unit. And these guys are just pumping out like shots for everyone, and people are just standing around, chilling, hanging out, getting drunk, pretty much. And they just pour you a little shot glass of a drink with a couple cherries in it, and I remember it not being that great.
Yeah. Not that it wasn't great, it's just not something we're into. For one, we're not big gin drinkers, and I particularly don't like cherry flavored things, but it was something we wanted to try, and it was definitely like a really neat experience because, like he said, it's like not a deep storefront. You just kind of like step in, and that's like basically all you have, and then there's just like one person you can order, like
you can grab a bottle.
Yeah, like there's like
shots.
not many options, right? So you're just basically like one shot or two or whatever.
Yeah,
and then you just watch them pour it with like this automatic like motion, like they just do this all the time.
Yeah.
So like
it's like they release a couple cherries and then they like hold the cherries in so the liquid goes in. It's like he was a machine. He was only pouring a shot, but he was a machine.
And it's always perfectly just to the rim, right?
Yeah.
Which is great, but also very difficult to like then take and walk away with, as you're like exiting, like trying not to spill any of it, not to bump into anybody because people are just like standing around everywhere. And it's great. Yeah.
And then the other thing that Anthony Bourdain tries is bifanas, which I honestly wish we had more. I think that was one of the things that I really liked because it was so simple yet so tasty. We found a cool spot near where our Airbnb was, and it's just, I honestly forgot the kind of meat was in there, but it's just like a slice of meat beef, plus like some sort of like, what was the breading? Man, let me just look this up right now because I really suck at
But I remember it like basically felt like this really like tiny, cozy little like diner almost. And I was super intimidated because there was a bunch of like guys, mostly older men too. And, you know, they're just like hanging out. They're standing at the counter, eating, talking, chatting it up. And, you know, the menu is there, but it's in Portuguese. There's no English. And I remember feeling like very overwhelmed when I stepped in. And I was just like, and then I was like, Carl, what are they called? How do you say it again? And then by the time it was like our turn to order, like the guy was asking me, I like totally blanked. I literally, I thought I said something and I don't think I did. But I remember hearing Carl actually yelled it behind me. And then the guy was like, okay. And then the moment passed. But I remember in that moment feeling like so relieved that Carl had finally said something during our trip. Because all other times it's fallen onto me, you know, to make the exchange with the local, even though I equally do not know the language.
My shyness is just much stronger than that. But yes. So a bifana basically is Portuguese sandwich made with thin slices of pork that are marinated and simmered in a sauce of like white wine, garlic, paprika, served on a soft roll with plenty of mustard and piri piri sauce.
Yes. The mustard you add yourself. People just like squeeze bottle.
Oh yeah, I went to town on that. The mustard was so tasty. It like made me feel like they make it themselves too. But that mom and pop kind of shop feeling was like really cool. Like even though there was a language barrier, we felt like we were part of the community,
just for a
not
moment,
a part of the economy.
Yes, definitely. I think there were plenty of times, you know, when, you know, of course you don't want to like be just another tourist, like feeding into a tourist trap. So we do our best to, you know, research, but also take everything with a grain of salt. Like obviously, like if there's a long line, like doesn't necessarily mean it's a good place. But if you find that there are a lot of locals around, then you're like, okay, our odds are much better.
Right. It's kind of like eating at a Chinese restaurant. If you see there's other Chinese people in there, it might be good.
It might be, but that's still actually not a really good indicator. Because the thing about Chinese people is, and I can say this because we also really appreciate just like cheap, decent, as long as the price is good. So a lot of Chinese people would be like, just because there's a lot of Chinese people in there doesn't mean it's good. If it's expensive and there's a lot of Chinese people, then it's gotta be good. that okay. But if it's a place where there's like a lot of Chinese people, but it's really cheap, it just means they're there because it's cheap. Yeah. So there you guys go. Okay.
Bifanas though, that's where it's at.
Bifanas, that was actually, you're right. I think that was one of the best, like, you know, you can say
it felt like homey.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely like a nice simple comfort food.
Comfort, yes.
You know, and then dessert would be an egg tart. Man, that's the life right there.
There's no vegetables in that scenario, though.
I'm Filipino. We don't eat vegetables.
Actually, yeah. At no point did vegetables ever come with anything we ordered that we were in Portugal
other
eating.
Than our hand-pulled noodles.
Yeah, there was like a little bit of vegetables in there. But it came in only, that's why we made our own salads.
Yeah. That's why, like, most of the time we can't, like, eat out all the time. That's what we do love, like going to markets and buying some of the local stuff and trying to cook with it, which is what we did. We bought a whole fish. I forgot what kind of fish we bought.
It was like Dorado or something.
Yeah, Dorado, yeah. And then we just, because we had an oven.
Yeah.
So we baked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just roasted it with some potatoes. Actually, and then it was like really nice. We stuffed it with like some herbs and lemon. And came out pretty good.
It came out really good. And I remember that because we saw the fish at the market and we were like, okay, obviously if there's a time to, you know, we had gone to La Rochelle and, you know, had that moment of like, we should work with fish more. We should explore this. And then coming to Lisbon and being like, this is obviously a place with a lot of seafood. We should take advantage. And I remember actually going back and forth and we were kind of like, well, we don't really know how to cook these fish and we don't know what these fish are. And there's a language barrier, so we can't just like ask the person selling it, like, oh, how do you know, how would we cook this? How would we do this? So there was a time before we bought the fish, we just like kind of like going around and around trying to like commit to the idea of buying the fish, I think.
Yeah.
And then so we finally did it. And I remember like by the time we like cooked it and we were eating it, I was just like so completely like, like relieved and satisfied because we had managed to be brave enough to buy the fish and do this.
And cook it and eat it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Speaking of seafood, though, probably the greatest highlight of Lisbon for us was eating at Cervejaria. Cervejaria? That sounds so good. Cervejaria Ramiro.
Yes.
Which is the spot for some seafood. We went to town. Like, this is a splurge.
It's a huge splurge, guys.
Yeah, it's a very big splurge. But it is so worth it. Like, the seafood itself is so good.
So fresh.
Everything has butter or garlic, which
Excuse me.
you cannot, like, butter or garlic, so you can't go wrong with that. What are the things we ordered were like lobster, tiger prawns, razor clams was the first time we had that.
Shrimp.
Oh, scarlet shrimp. That was like mind-boggling.
Yeah. In the States, we don't have a lot of exposure to different types of seafood, especially to that like granular level of like different kinds of shrimp. Like there's just shrimp here. We don't really get
different sizes. Great.
Yeah. Which is a shame, but that was our first encounter of the scarlet shrimp, and hands down, but like to us more succulent and tender than like lobster. So you can bypass the lobster unless you're a huge fan of it, and instead spend the money on the scarlet shrimp.
Yeah. I also think like the razor clams we kind of got because one, it's very different from what we've ever seen or have eaten, and it was actually pretty nice. It was really good.
Yeah, just like a white wine, butter, garlic. How do you go wrong?
How do you go wrong? They give you bread with all of this stuff to soak up.
You pay for the bread though.
Yeah, you do. But still, you need to soak up. Yeah, you need to soak up all that sauce for something. I think that's probably the highlight of our Lisbon trip. If we only at the time had more funds to go back every day.
Yeah. But I think, that's definitely like a luxury moment. But I felt that the lifestyle of like, having like just going somewhere and then getting like an espresso and pausing for a moment, like that's pretty normal.
And in that like Alfama district or whatever. Yeah. Where you can just sit by the water or seawall.
Okay. I'm now certain it's not called a seawall. But anyways, but no, like just anywhere, you don't even have to go somewhere scenic, but you see folks at cafes all the time, just like any time of the day, just like leisurely having this tiny little espresso. And for the moments when we did the same, we kind of like sat down and like you're not having a meal or anything, you're just literally there to have like a little bit of coffee
and a conversation with someone you love at the time. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, the only unpleasant part of Lisbon was I don't understand when they pick up their garbage, but I feel like every time at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.
Every night.
It's not like here where it's like once a week a garbage man comes. Yeah, every night. This freaking dude, I don't know how it works, but he's just rolling his garbage.
Well, they're official people, right?
They are. They have uniforms and everything. Yeah. I mean, like, I put an alarm. No, I put an alarm. I remember putting an alarm.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and waking up until that dude came. Because it was like 2 a.m., and I was like, oh, it happens because he's always woken me up, right? But then I was like, I'm going to put an alarm. I'm going to grab my camera and like film it, or my phone and film it. And who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, you just thought it was a rando person, just playing with his garbage can.
And you're like, oh, that's not so bad. He's just like rolling his garbage can. Bro, it's cobblestone paths.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
All the way down past the apartment that we're in.
For like 30 minutes.
Just going, and then it's like every night, and we're like, oh man, this is like this is the third time. Like, there's a pattern here. And then.
Nope. It's not a rando. It's not someone drunk. It's a garbage man collecting. I mean, that's great though.
I mean, yeah, like everyday service. That's important, keeping the city clean.
That's probably the only thing that that could have just been on us about location, but there's that. So consider that. Anyway, so Lisbon's definitely a place where we really want to go back and have more Bafanas and scarlet shrimp. It's definitely on our list to live in. If you follow, I forgot their name on YouTube. Basically, it's a family that talks about investments and stuff. They talk about like their fire program. I totally missed what their name is, but we'll put it in the show notes. They moved to Lisbon from the Bay Area, actually. I think Bay Area. Yeah, this guy like
from the States
or something. Yeah, in California. I think it was specifically California, but I might be mixing up him and like what's his name, the bucket list family, because he was up here as well. He sold his business and they all became bucket list family. But anyway, the family I'm talking about is not a bucket list family. It's just a great place to live. They go into detail why it's great healthcare, where they live in comparison. Yeah, and comparing it basically to here. So it's a great place, I think, to move or consider to move. And it's definitely on our list. So that's it. Yeah. Bye. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode or this episode of our podcast, our little trip recap. And if you guys have visited Lisbon, let us know what your favorite parts were. If you've experienced the 2 a.m. garbage man, or your thoughts on, egg tarts and where your favorite spots were. So yeah, you can catch us on Cene, talk to us on there about your Portugal trips. And the next stop will be
Spain.
Yeah,
we're moving on to Spain. First stop, Madrid.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs like our videos. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.